You know, during the isolation of active addiction, my creativity really withered and I struggled with it a lot. And then when I came into recovery and I started to connect to people, both in creative artistic communities and in recovery and addiction communities, you know, I really felt like I came alive again. And today I want to talk about that difference. You know, I think creativity is really fueled by connection when we're in recovery, and isolation, in my experience, has never really been a positive thing, full stop. You know, when I was in active addiction, isolation was bad, and even in recovery, isolation is bad. And it's something that it's a go-to of mine, to isolate when I'm not feeling very good or I'm not doing very well. But isolation, I feel like, is one of the biggest risks for relapse, you know. And it kills creativity. It's really the truth. It's a funny one because as artists and makers, musicians, creative people, we need that private space because that is totally sacred to our productivity as creative people. But it's a very fine line between having that, you know, space to create and then abusing that space to escape from reality, which is what I did for a long time. Firstly, I did it with drink and with drugs and alcohol, whatever. And then in recovery, I still find that I do that. You know, I still find that one of my go-tos is to isolate, which may be overusing my phone or my computer, or, you know, it's mainly digital screen time these days, which is a really sad thing for me to say, but it's just the truth. And so, yeah, today that's what I want to talk about. Isolation, bad. Connection, community, good for creative people. When I was in active addiction, you know, my creativity did really dry up. I spent many years not really doing much creatively, despite the fact that I went to university to study art, and I've always considered myself to be really creative, and I've always really wanted to be an artist. That's kind of my dream goal. And I just found that, like, through the years and years of not really addressing those underlying issues that I used to drink and use drugs to try and solve, that my creativity just didn't have anywhere to go. And I did have a little journal or sketchbook here and there, but few and far between. And any time I wanted to actually do a painting, like, I remember I was meant to be doing this portrait of one of my family members, and I just couldn't finish it. I couldn't, I got so frustrated by it that I ended up abandoning the portrait, and that's, you know, a really, really sad thing, I think. And I know now that in recovery, because I've got connection around me, I can go to people for advice and help and guidance, trusted people whose opinions, you know, I take very seriously, and that's a beautiful thing, you know. In recovery, connection has made a lot of new sparks for me in my own creativity, and I never thought that would be the case, because I used to be a big believer in, like, the myth of the tortured artist, you know, and you got to do it all on your own, in isolation, in your room or whatever, along with a load of drink and a load of drugs. And if you don't, then why are you even making art? Because you need to be, like, off your face to be a proper artist, and all that kind of crazy stuff that goes through our heads when we're in the madness. But in recovery, yeah, you know, I've got this sense of connection, and I can appreciate fully now that I am the best version of myself when I'm connected to other people, other recovering addicts, other creative people, and also that space in the middle where those two things meet. I know that when I'm isolating, it's a bad thing now, and what I've learned to do is, like, separate out those two moments as well. So to separate out the negative isolation from the important alone time where I can think deeply and do my painting and my writing and my drawing without being disturbed. I really do think that creativity is communal, you know. If you look back throughout history, particularly prehistory, you know, it always served a kind of communal and sacred purpose, a religious purpose, spiritual purpose. And it was done to bring people together, to connect people to something greater than themselves. And I really think that in my experience and in a lot of other creative people's experience, what we're really missing is that authentic community, you know, where we can show up as ourselves, we can help each other with both our creative and other problems, like, you know, our recovery problems. And that's really my goal now, is like to fuse those two things, and so I am going to keep banging on about it. It's this community I've started called Creating Sobriety. It's been on the back burner for a few years now, and I've started it, I've stopped it, I've started it, I've stopped it. I'm not perfect. I get scared about launching new things, that's the truth. And for me, being authentic is number one now. Authenticity, connection, avoiding isolation. And so for me to bring like my recovery community and my creative community together, and to help people who, like me, struggle with drug and alcohol abuse, as well as addiction in other forms, and who are also creative in whatever way that might be, painters, musicians, writers, etc. It's really important, you know, because I think there's so many tens of thousands, probably millions of people out there who are creative, who want community, but are currently in the throes of addiction or blocked because of, you know, something they've got going on with mental health or abuse, you know, drug abuse or whatever it might be. And so Creating Sobriety is my attempt right now to bring these two communities together and to help us find each other, you know, and through that connection and community, I hope that we can grow together and learn a little bit about each other and about how to function effectively as a creative person in recovery, you know, because that's where my heart is, you know, it's where my soul is, and hopefully you'll join me on the journey. I'm going to link the community in the bio below, and if you've got any comments, please do leave them, give it a like and a subscribe, because the comments more than anything now are keeping me going. Like, the views still pretty low, but I'm just going to keep ploughing on through. But yeah, the comments are gold, and I really enjoy connecting with people on YouTube. I find it to be a very authentic place, and so I appreciate everyone that has left comments so far. And remember that isolation is just bad, full stop. Alone time is good, but isolation is bad. So one takeaway, I would like to think about the distinction between those two. When you're spending time on your own, is it positive or is it negative? And sometimes we haven't even recognised what it is. And so it's important to sit and think as well. So that's it. Yeah, hope to see you in the next one, and thanks very much.